So, we have the immense privilege of having Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi deliver the call to action and closing address for the day. Nobel laureate Satyarthi is the only Indian-born Nobel Peace Laureate living and working in India. We will start with an introductory video.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2014 is to be awarded to Kailash Satyarthi for the struggle against suppression of young people and children.
There is no greater violence than to deny the dreams of our children. I refuse to accept that the laws and constitutions are unable to protect our children. Today is the time for every child to have the right to life. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be more stronger than the quest for freedom. I refuse to accept here.
Getting a greeting like this is all the reward Kailash Satyarthi needs for freeing these children from a life of slavery. He tries to give these kids the childhood they missed.
Do you think these kids see you as a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
No, I don't think they see me as friend or brother or something like father. I have looked into their frightened and exhausted eyes. I've held their injured bodies and I have felt their broken spirits. I refuse to accept that children belonging to certain sections of society are born to work for others at the cost of their childhood and freedom and education. If the children are exploited, if the children are deprived from their childhood in any part of the world cannot live in peace. The world cannot be human.
It's not often the two winners of the Nobel Peace Prize get together, but it happened yesterday when President Obama met Kailash Satyarthi. They were joined by 3 children who were rescued from child trafficking and forced marriage.
You cannot live in isolation. All the problems and solutions are interconnected. And so the problem of child labor in any part of the world is your problem.
Satyarthi organizes raids with local police, but sometimes employers are tipped off and waiting for him armed.
But I have been attacked many times in my life.
You had a gun to your head?
Literally here.
This is dangerous work, freeing these kids.
Somebody has to pay the cost for freedom. It does not come on plate. So if not me, then who else will do? Nobel Prize.
Who won the Nobel Prize, he asks. Their reply, all of us kids.
It's good. Every single minute matters. Every single child matters. Every single childhood matters.
Nobel laureate Satyarthi, it is an immense honor to have you join us. Please, may I request you to take the stage.
Dear sisters and brothers, it's really a pleasure and honor for me to be amongst you. I just flew from Dubai. We had some activity yesterday and day before. So I'm coming straight from the airport. Devilji was very sympathetic to me that sometimes we should give you free time, but your free time is always or almost in aeroplanes where you can sleep or rest a little bit. And that is the hazard of being Nobel Peace Prize winner. when Einstein got the Nobel Prize, suddenly there was influx of invitations from all over the world in academies and everywhere. And one day his driver saw that Einstein is getting exhausted, is tired. So he suggested, "Sir, I have an idea. You have been repeating the same thing again and again and again, so you must be exhausted, but in my case, I have been listening to you all the time. So I remember every single word and sentence and comma and full stop, and I am quite known to this theory of relativity and other scientific theories which you spoke." So he asked, "What is your idea?" He said, "Let us try." Luckily, those days, these small cameras, smartphones were not yet invented. So people knew about his name, but everywhere the people have not seen the picture. So in a small setup in a university, there was a good program. The new incarnation of the driver set the stage, spoke so well. Everybody was clapping, even standing applause. Then suddenly, "Professor, what is your name, sir?" Sean. Someone like Sean was sitting there, just in front of this new Nobel laureate. And he said, "Sir, you spoke so well, much more energetic. I have a question." Tell. He asked a question. Then the Nobel laureate was an intelligent guy, of course. So he said, "Oh, I was thinking that you're going to ask a tough question. It is such a childish one. Even my driver sitting in the back row, he can answer the question." So the poor Einstein had to come on the stage and answer. No rest. Friends, Aditi ji, you look so good. You are not looking tired. You were there yesterday and we flew together this morning. Let me begin with my own philanthropic life. That's the surprising thing for many of you. I'm an activist, I'm a human rights worker. How the philanthropic aspect is added to my life, and how the activism and philanthropy had merged together in the rest of my life. When I was 11-year-old, I saw that many of my friends left schooling because their parents could not afford syllabus books. Textbooks were very expensive. So I had no idea how to help them. So when my 7th grade results were being announced, I was quite confident I am going to pass and go to next grade. But an idea born in my mind that all my textbooks will go waste. And there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of the boys and girls who will go to the next grade and all these books will go waste for them. So I convinced a friend of mine, of my age. We hired a thela, this 4-wheel pull cart, which is normally used for by the vendors, street vendors. So on that day when results declared and everybody was enjoying, my friend was pushing that thela and I was standing on it in neighborhoods and started chanting, "Dear sisters, dear brothers, congratulations, your children are passed today. You must be very happy, enjoying, celebrating." So people came out to listen. in the balconies and roofs. And then I went to the second part. I said, think of those children who could not continue because their parents could not afford. And all the books are going to be wasted today onwards of your children. Would you please put all these books on this cart? And it was so electrifying, dear friends. Within few minutes, the people started coming and pouring in books in my cart. And within 4 hours, we have to take 2 rounds, and I was able to collect over 2,500 books. Each time a book was put on it, I realized that a new brick in my personality was being built and put. I had no idea that one day I am going to launch the world's biggest ever civil society, the largest ever civil society initiative for education, that was Global Campaign for Education. I had no idea at that time that I am going to build the single largest civil society movement in the world's history for the most vulnerable children, and that is Global March Against Child Labor. But the very moment I realized that the people are willing to change the world for betterment. We should go with new ideas. We should go with clean heart, some deep-rooted purity of heart and mind. There are people to support. My big problem was that I had no idea about those books, which class they belong to, because I was only in 7th grade. I could think of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 8th grade. But trigonometry, geometry, this metry, that metry, I have never heard those subjects. So I went to a teacher and sought some help. But in 2-3 days' time, I developed another idea. I thought that if I am going to donate these books, people will be very happy that this boy, Kailash, 11-year-old boy, did wonder in the small town in Madhya Pradesh, Vidisha. But I thought that let us find some sustainability. Sustainability word was not even invented, but I was thinking that there should be something like that, that it should continue. There should be some continuity. So I was aware of the bank, that my family members and others have accounts in the bank. So I thought, let us create a book bank so that the needy children can borrow the books for 1 year only, and the teachers will guarantee that these books will be returned by the end of the session so that they can go to the next session. Dear sisters and brothers, in 3 years' time, it has become a huge book bank, which was not managed by me, but by the teachers and headmasters. And no child in my town was deprived of books, and no child left schooling because of paucity of syllabus books. But then I realized that it is not enough. The children who are deprived of education, they are enslaved. They are sold and bought like animals. They have no freedom, no dignity, no future. And generally, the people used to simplify all evils as the poverty. Oh, they are poor children. Or the age-old mindset, which is very difficult to challenge, even today. Even today, people think that, oh, they are poor people. I was in Latin America last 3 weeks ago, and struggling with some of the politicians, those who are willing, and those who are trying hard to weaken the laws against slavery and child labor in some of those countries. It has already happened in Bolivia, and now other Latin American countries are also trying to push for weakening of those laws. So, I wanted to do something different. I started a magazine, as I was sharing yesterday, just to create awareness in the society about those issues. We, as social activists, development agencies, philanthropists, UN agencies, governments, have reached in our knowledge to, if I put it in a scale, say up to X, Y, Z, we have a lot of knowledge, no dearth of knowledge. You just put your fingers on your smartphone and you jump into the ocean of knowledge about everything in the world. But that time the knowledge was not there. And this time also, if you go to remote areas, and even in the city like Mumbai, many people have no knowledge, no idea that the world has 168 million children who are working in full-time jobs. 59 million children have never been to school. 120 million children were forced to leave school before completion of primary schooling. More than 100 million children are suffering from different kinds of diseases which are curable. Very simply. People think that this is poverty and everybody try to live in the comfort zone. So the knowledge and consciousness about these issues are still very, very important. And when it comes to the ordinary people, poor people, common people in the villages, we have to fight with cultural bias, social bias. We have to fight with other things, but more importantly, we have to free their minds. Even for their own children, they think that if we have any opportunity, we can send our children to school, but many people don't try that opportunity out. Because many of them still believe that they belong to the lowest caste in Indian situation or living in different places. So they are far distant from the knowledge towards their own rights and rights of their children. How many children in schools know about their rights, if I ask? How many children in my country and other countries know about their rights to be protected from sexual abuse, from bad touch or good touch, and all kinds of things? Still the social trauma and the social bias and the mental barriers, family barriers, stop us to speak out. So a lot of work was needed, still needed. But what has happened over the years? We have seen very interesting growth in all aspects of life. But in the development field, when we started working, I started working after giving up my career as an electrical engineer. Hardly anybody was talking of those issues of child rights or child labor, child slavery. I am very generous to say hardly. The reality was nobody was talking, let alone working. There were philanthropy activities. There were charities who were working for poor children, but I did not believe in that kind of typical charity mindset of just giving something so your hands remain on the top and somebody who is getting money remain down, and you feel very happy that you have done something for good. And that person will always bow down in front of you. Children are not responsible for denial of their childhood. No child has ever created war, violence. No child has ever created poverty. No child is responsible for Many of those things which we are facing today, may it be global warming, or may it be terrorism, or economic slowdowns time to time, did children create these things? But they are victims and sufferers, and they are further victimized. So we have to see in a different manner. In the entire development discourse, as well as parallelly human rights discourse, these issues were not on the priority agenda of the governments and United Nations systems. The development sector and human rights sectors were going on parallel for ages, still. But there is some convergence in different ways. Thanks to some of the philanthropists, thanks to some of the civil society organizations who started thinking in more comprehensive, more holistic manner. I recall those days at the time of Millennium Development Goal discussion. I was the part of it, not officially, but unofficially trying to push hard the agenda of children inside MDGs. I was the one who had organized demonstrations and meetings in front of the United Nations in New York, along with my partner organizations, to demand that child slavery, education, which is inclusive and equitable, not just education for all, child labor, trafficking should be included into the Millennium Development Goals. And 20 years ago, it was about 20 years ago, because the MDG was launched in 2000. In 1997-98, the debate began. And my argument, based on my own experience, was that you cannot accomplish most of the development goals without putting an end to child labor. That time, 260 million children were working in full-time jobs. And on the other hand, almost 240 million adults were jobless. There were ample of studies which proved that these children are none but the children of those parents who are jobless. Children are preferred. They were preferred always because they were the cheapest source of labor, free labor, easy to exploit, easy to take work for 12, 14 hours a day. And the parents remain jobless. So how can you get rid of poverty without elimination of child labor? How can you ensure education for all without taking these children out from those situations and ensure that they are able to attend the schools? But that time, the civil society's voices were very thin. We were asked to bring our issues from outside. We had no space in the final policy discourses in the UN systems. Many NGOs have to fight when the WTO and the World Bank meetings took place. So was the situation of corporate sector. Now, after 15 years in MDGs, the corporate sector has emerged as a very important player in the development as well as in the human rights protection. This is the change in last 20 years or so. We have also seen that the civil society's voices cannot be ignored. They are integrated into the final decision making. So in the entire discussion, the consultative process of sustainable development goal, corporate sector as well as the civil society has been taken into account. So that is great news. And now when SDGs have been adopted by the General Assembly, we have almost every single thing which we were demanding: abolition of child slavery and trafficking, abolition of child labor, child marriages, inclusive, equitable, and quality education. These things are added to it. The bigger challenge is that in this whole big jungle of so many indicators and 17 goals, the issues of children should not be lost. How to prioritize them? How to create a sense of urgency? How to build a partnership between the state actors, corporate actors, and the civil society? With a very genuine intention, not just giving and taking relationship, but being equal partner as change makers. So these issues are still there. We strongly feel that this is a great opportunity. If we are able to address one full generation and ensure their protection, their health, their malnutrition issues, education issues, give them fullest of their childhood, then we need not to work so hard in the next generation. One generation which is taken care of properly will take care of all the generations to come. That will propel itself. You have to work just for one generation. And that has been my new major agenda. Some years ago, I was informed that there was a group of slave laborers, including some children, have been put to work in stone quarries, which you mentioned yesterday. I was surprised to know that many of them were born and grew up there. Their marriages were forced within the community of slave laborers, and the next generation was born. So I went to rescue them because I keep on freeing children for last 35, 36 years. I learned that this stone quarry in Haryana belongs to a very powerful mafia group, which was a politician also, that time parliament member. So I could not take any help from the police. I had to go with some of my friends. We had to wait whole night, and we conducted this rescue operation very early in the morning, before dawn, so nobody could see us. And the chokidar, this watchman, used to go for freshen up every day. So we fixed that time. We had conducted the rescue operation. We brought them together with us. And normally in such rescue operations, I drive myself, because several times the drivers were either bought or forced, or they leave, so it becomes very dangerous. When I say dangerous, I lost 2 of my colleagues. One was shot dead, one was beaten to death. When I say dangerous, I cannot lift my right arm because it is broken. My left leg is broken. My backbone is broken. It's risky. So that day, I was rushing towards town from that quarry area, keeping some girls and boys in my car, and the men and women were loaded in a truck, which was running back. So I was driving fast, and suddenly I realized that all these children were so traumatized, so shocked, they could not comprehend the freedom. So to make them easy, I told them that, look, there are a bunch of bananas lying in the back, and you can eat it, the leftover bananas of the night before. So children looked here and there. I said, look, that yellow thing. They saw that bunch of banana. I said, pick it up. One boy picked one and asked to a girl that, what is this? Is it, I've never seen this kind of onion. The girl said, oh, neither it's potato. We are living in the largest democracy of the world. We as global citizens have conquered moon before the birth of many of you. We are connected with the world so fast with our fastest speed, internet speed. But a girl and boy were asking that This is neither potato nor banana, nor onion. I said, eat, please eat. It's sweet. They asked what sweet is. I said, please eat. So I was driving fast. And I suddenly noticed that some of them started eating that banana without peeling it. I was in tears, my friends. Because that day I realized that just peeling a banana is a distance of 100 years, 1-2 centuries, this simple knowledge. And that is the distance between freedom and slavery. Somehow I taught them and they ate. They started eating. Some of them could not like it. A few started eating. A girl, about 6-7 year old, sitting just beside me, her name is Devali. I felt that somebody has put her hand on my shoulder and asked in Hindi, in her language, "Kyun re? Tu pehle kyun nahi aaya? Oh man, why didn't you come early?" That was not because of banana. She saw the death of her younger brother in her lap without knowing what medicine is. She has seen the sexual abuse of her mother, and when her father tried to stop it, he was beaten up and branded with bidi cigarettes. That's why she asked, "Why didn't you come early?" That was the beginning of her confidence in the world through me. I was very fortunate. But the question which Devali asked to me is the question I'm asking to you, and to you, and to you. What stops us? You are powerful people. You have great souls. You have great minds. You have great hearts. What else is needed in the world to go to those children and free them from slavery? We have to bring the issues of our children in our priority. The global priority agenda, political priority, economic priority, social priority. Even the faith groups and leaders in the faith institutions should also prioritize the issue of children with the sense of urgency. I have taken a couple of more minutes, additional minutes, before you wanted to have question answer. But let me tell you that this girl was so bright. When she was brought to stay with our ashram, we have 3 ashrams, one for girls and 2 for boys. She studied there, and she was very bright, full with passion. She has done something which many people could not do. When she went back after rehabilitation program, I learned that she had a commitment and a pledge inside her that she is not going to leave any single child in her community without education. She went door to door. She could find a person who was just undergraduate, started helping, and every single boy and girl of her community started schooling through her. A former child slave, given the opportunity. I chosen her to go with me in the final stage of discussion of Millennium Development Goals some years ago in the United Nations General Assembly, on the sidelines. We organized a high-level discussion where dozens of presidents and prime ministers, kings and queens were present. We organized it. I was conducting the session. And Devali was chosen to go there. And Devali went on the dais and said, "I never seen such white people in my life. How white you are. How come you became so white?" And people were laughing. I said, "You are so fat. Look at me, I'm so thin." She's a tiny, small girl. And then she shared her story, and she said that I, being a tribal enslaved girl, decided that nobody will left behind, every child would attend the school. What about you? she asked to Gordon Brown, who was sitting like you were sitting with your stop. And she said that, why don't you stop this now, this slavery? As you are thinking that why Kailash Satyarthi does not stop now. And the immediate response was that $450 million were committed by a few governments for education that could have brought 220,000 children to school immediately, just because of the grant. Dear friends, if Devli can do this, I, being a very humble, very simple, very ordinary person, can build a worldwide movement from India, and that has become a global issue now, which was a non-issue. No United Nations agency working on the issue of child slavery or child labor before. Even the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was born only in 1989. And we are working off 1980-81. It is possible. It's possible. In 15 years' time, the number of child laborers in the world has gone down from 260 million to 168 million. In the whole world, the number of out-of-school children have also dropped from 130 million globally to 59 million. The infant mortality has halved during that time. We can achieve it. You can achieve it. You are not ordinary people who are sitting in, thanks to Dasara. I heard that Dasara and Give India merged together this morning. Congratulations. You can be much more powerful. Dear friends, we can achieve it. We will achieve it. And you will see the end of child slavery in your lifetime. You will see the end of illiteracy of children in your lifetime. I am with you, and I call upon your support for this globally. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Anything else? Some questions, or question-answer session is over or still there?
Thank you, sir. That was
okay. Thank you so much.
No, so it'd be wonderful. Actually, we'd just like to take a couple of questions.
Okay.
And if there are, I mean, it's such a unique opportunity that if there are a couple of questions just in the audience, then that would be truly fantastic. Just making sure I get to see all those who do want to ask a question. Yeah? Who's up there? Okay. Sean, let's start here, close in. So let's get a microphone.
Kailash, I'm humbled and inspired, so thank you, and you're a role model, and we will call to action for you. A question: as you confront politicians, state level, national, with such concrete, tear-jerking examples, what sort of responses or excuses do you get? Like, how does a political institutions not support you? What excuses do you hear from the politicians as to why you're not getting more support from civil society?
Excuses come later, but I normally experience a lot of hypocrisy in them. When they are on stage, when they are talking to their audience, they speak very high for children, for women, for everyone. But when I talk to them, I personally also talk to them privately. They said, "Oh, Mr. Satyarthi, why are you struggling? You are being beaten up. The mafia is not helping. Why don't you join the politics?" Not now, before. That is the tendency. But the excuses are there that in developing countries, in a number of African countries where I'm working, in Latin America and India, they say that they are poor people and we cannot abolish child labor. First of all, they don't admit that this is slavery. They say that this is child labor and child work, and they are helping the family, supporting financially, and so on. So that is their mindset. They are to be educated also. Many of them feel that what they are putting for education, that's also a charity they are doing, or one of those hundreds of development measures and activities. Still, to educate them that this is an investment for the long-term gains. As I said, that I met a number of top-level politicians in Latin America last 2 weeks ago, ministers and governors and so on. And very simple things, like the World Bank study in 50 countries, which has revealed that if you invest on education and make sure that 1 year of education is given to every person in the country, it will give 0.37% GDP return, 0.7% additional GDP growth in return. And if 10 years of education is ensured for all country, then the GDP growth rate will enhance 10 times more than that. So 3.7% or so. There is a UN study also which shows that if you invest $1 on elimination or eradication of child labor today, in 20 years' time, the return would be 7 times. There's another study which proved that if you invest $1 on educating children, the return would be 15 times over the next 20 years. So that kind of business argument should be built up also. That education is not simply philanthropy, it is an investment. And child labor is the biggest impediment in education, and that's why we have to put an end to it. We cannot do it without that.
Thank you, sir. We're actually going to have to stop there, but phenomenal talk, thank you. But I think what would be wonderful is if we can just present a wee gift with you from Ayush here for truly inspiring us. It's a challenge to our whole generation.
What is your name?
Ayush.
Ayush. Thank you, Ayush. Ayush, I have a work for you. Can I say in 1 minute?
Please.
And for all the young people. And I guess you are also young. Not only Ayush. Ayush, how old are you? 10. Very good. Very good age. So let me begin with the 10-year-old children. My new foundation, Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, I always dream big. If I'm allowed to big freely, I dream big, or the biggest. And I try to discover the inner strength and the strength from outside, and then I do. So my formula is dream big and better for better, discover inner strength and external opportunities, and do. Don't wait, do. So dream, discover, and do. So now I have a great plan, and I seek your support. They will think that I'm talking about the financial support. I'm not the guy, that's why I'm always like that. My people will follow up. But you will say I'm clever. Without being clever, you cannot change the world's laws and constitutions and so on, which I've been trying and I have been successful. So my new big, you said entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship. That is history's biggest ever campaign involving young people. What I call 100 million for 100 million. 100 million young people in the world, like your age, Ayush, they are deprived of their freedom and childhood and health and education, what not. Children of his age and other young persons. They are victims of vulnerabilities, manifold vulnerabilities, and violence, which they are not responsible for, I said. But on the other hand, 100 million young people plus, 100 million plus, they are in schools, colleges, like you. Which class you study? 5. So they go to school, and they wanted to do something good for the society. The youth are most enthusiastic, most inclusive. They are hungry to learn, but they are hungry to give back. Many of you are hungry to give back. That's why you have become philanthropists. But the young people, even before gaining, they wanted to give, do something. That is the sense of idealism inside them. If we are not able to harness it properly, if we are not able to harness this energy and channelize it properly, we see a lot of frustration, disillusionment, which is erupted in universities, colleges here and there, in violence, intolerance and violence. So this is the right time where we have to engage them and make them change makers right now, so that they can find new ideas. We give them opportunity to invent new ideas to work for those 100 million left out children. So 100 million for 100 million. In next 5 years' time, online and offline, this campaign will grow. I'm very conservative in saying that 100 million people will join. I've already worked with 20, 30, 40 million people on education, on child labor issues. As I said, that Nobel Peace Prize is not a full stop in my life. It does not make me celebrity. It gives me more energy as a comma so that I can jump further and take a big leap. And that's why the campaign 100 million for 100 million is going to address the entire generation, those who are left out and those who are willing to do something good for the society. Isn't it a good idea or bad?
Great idea.
Tell me. I wanted to listen from you. Actually, I was asking to him, and so it seems that you're also quite enthusiastic. Good idea. You want to work for those children who are not so fortunate as you are, going to school and having good parents and having good teachers. Do you want to see those children to work or to go to school? Go to school. Give him a big clap. And that is, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ayush. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.